dabbers, Gerlash. Now, Donald Trump's £10 billion defamation lawsuit against the BBC, well, that is going to go down trial, innit? Next February in Florida. They ain't getting away with it. He's sticking with it, is old Don. What'd you make of that then, Phil Mababber?
Hey, Alex, I think it's going to be absolutely banging. You know what I'm saying, don't you? It's going to be great, right? You know, when he takes on the BBC and he really smashes them, you know, because they really need smashing, don't they, right? Once he does that, everything's just going to be top banana, girl.
I love it. Do you know, honestly, I could actually quite happily try and do the rest of the show like that, except I worked so hard. My parents tried to beat that West Country accent out of me. So I actually have to dig deep to revitalise it these days. Once upon a time, we all thought if you wanted to be a broadcast journalist and go on the BBC, you had to have received pronunciation. I was sold a pup. Tell you that much. If I did speak like that. No, actually, no. The West Country accent is the one accent that you're not allowed to use. Yeah, do you know what I mean? You can have a slight Manc accent, a Liverpudlian accent, a Brummie accent, and go on and be, you know, in places. But unfortunately, if you speak like that, you've got to stay on Clarkson's farm. But no, let's go back to this BBC situation. He is not going to be talked down from this, and I have a feeling he will win because they doctored that speech. They cut it and respliced it. And not only that, it's not just the way that, well, it was an hour long and we had to shorten it. And, oh, no, look, it looks like it's sort of suggesting something. That was unintentional. They put a load of doom music over the top and a filter, you know, grey filter to make it look ominous. That doesn't magically happen all by itself. You know, you don't go away in the ghost of the editing suite. You've gone to make your, you know, cup of coffee or something down Broadcasting House and a ghost comes in and starts fiddling around with the Avid machine and then sends the clip to playback, and you come back in with your coffee and it goes out and you think, whoa, how did that happen? I mean, you know, pull the other one.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing with this is, though, they know full well that they've done this, but they actually think that that was the virtuous thing to do because he is the personification of evil, and anything that they do that will undermine him is actually for the greater good. You know, I'm sure that's what their mentality is. Now, I'm really, really looking forward not only to hopefully him winning 10 billion, my God, or it's 7 billion pounds, isn't it? But also the process for it to drag out and for him to really perform, you know what I mean? To really go for it and for the whole thing to absolutely shame them because they really need to be shamed. They work against us. The national broadcaster loathes, it's a little bit like the Labour Party in that respect. It loathes the working class. The one set of people who are not represented on the BBC are the white working class. Yeah. If you are a reform voter, you are not going to be represented on the BBC, or you're going to be made to look like an idiot. And the kinds of, I mean, if you just look at comedy, it's high time that, you know, this license fee was just absolutely abolished because the kinds of things they commission would not in any market, in any sensible commercial market, make any money because the number of trans comedies they commission is absolutely out of this world. So they don't act for us. Also, the anti-Semitism as well is just off the scale.
It's insane.
But it's just revolting. I mean, I think there's one stat that really sums it up. I think in the 4 months during the height of the Gaza war, I think they breached their own standards 15,000 times.
That's utterly breathtaking, that statistic, utterly breathtaking, but sadly not very surprising. But do you know what surprises me most, actually, about this whole BBC furore? Nobody's head rolled. I mean, so Tim Davie ended up stepping down because there's been a series of horrors, frankly. But no, you know, the actual editor of the programme, the producer who put that all together, nothing happened to them. If I, you know, did something at work that led, you know, Talk or News UK being taken to court by the President of America, no less, by anybody, quite frankly, but by the President of America, no less, I wouldn't be in this position. I would not be sitting in this chair. They'd say, Alex, you've disgraced the company. You've got to go. Sorry, love. You can't do that. And yet the people at the BBC behind all of this, where are they? they're still in jobs. It's utterly, it's incredulous. Let's quickly now talk about this because, Bridget Phillipson has decided she's been sitting on the Supreme Court ruling that, well, a woman's a woman, for too long now. She's got to do something about it. It's time to produce the guidance that's going to be in harmony with that, what to me was a seismic ruling and should have just been the full stop at the end of a ridiculous, incomprehensible sentence that we've all been forced to recite for the past 2 years. But no, because quite clearly she didn't agree with the Supreme Court ruling. In fact, she tried to challenge it. She wanted it to be overturned. Well, now she's come up with her guidance for schools, which thankfully says female toilets should remain as such. Well, good. That's nice. Because I remember when I was actually reporting as a journalist in Wales, when the very first school I know of in the UK who created unisex toilets, it was in Cardiff, I did a story, this was years ago, on how all the girls were not coming into school, going home at lunchtime and not coming back because they were too scared to use the bathrooms. So that's a good thing. But the guidance also says that pupils will be allowed to change their gender at school. They need to proceed with caution when dealing with a child's request to transition socially. I suppose one good thing is teachers must consult parents. But I just think, the guidance should be, it's a kid. You just have to say to them at that age, look, you're a boy, you're a girl, perhaps you might need to go and see a therapist if you're having troubles over this subject. Because I think enabling what is essentially a mental condition, because dystopia is a psychological condition that is actually vanishingly rare, or historically it always has been, enabling these strange fantasies where kids at school can pretend they're the opposite sex to their actual opposite sex, to me is actually sort of inculcating and concretizing severe mental health issues in that child.
Well, it's a kind of abuse, isn't it?
Yes.
Pure and simple. It's an abuse that is a sexual abuse as well, because all of this stuff is, there are so many layers here. So let's think, first of all, who's at the front of the classroom? If the person at the front of the classroom has blue hair and is festooned in rainbow flags, then that is a problem. That is a real red flag. Those kind of people are going to school, and those are the kind of people who are teachers now. So we really need to look at teacher training colleges, and we really need to think about, well, let's change the kinds of people who are going into schools, because these schools are kind of like cults. I've spent quite a lot of time in schools over the last 10, 15 years, taking students into schools, and you see all sorts of bizarre stuff. So that's one thing. The other thing is that this is supposed to be about safeguarding. If you are telling children that magically you can be another gender, if you wake up today, Alex, and you feel like a boy, then hey presto, you're a boy. We can all call you a boy, and that's fine. Okay, that is not real life, and that goes against science, that goes against reason, that goes against philosophy. I mean, back in the day when all of this stuff happened with ridiculous philosophers like Judith Butler and all of that kind of stuff, I thought, well, it's so stupid, because I was an academic at the time, it's so stupid that the feminists will just kick it out of the water because it's ridiculous. I feel like this, so therefore I am that. But they didn't do that, and it took hold massively. The key thing is we should not be sexualizing children, okay? This has gone on for far too long, and we should not have third-party providers coming in to provide sex education right through the curriculum, so it cannot be traced. So all of this stuff is not just in one place. It's not just about sex education where they're saying you might be a girl. Do you feel feminine, Johnny, because you might be a girl? It's threaded through maths. It's threaded through history. It's threaded through English, and it's insidious. So it used to be, just to finish the point, I know it's a long one, but
good one.
It used to be that parents didn't know. Okay, so if you had a child, little Johnny, and you that's his name, but he's actually being called Jane at school, and he's got she/her pronouns. Parents didn't know that And that was perfectly okay with schools and teachers.
Which is
the
sick.
change has happened, which is good, but none of it should be there.
But this is the thing. This is the thing, Philip. Unfortunately, there are some parents in this world, because they want to be hip and with it and mix in those circles and go along with all the pronoun police stuff. They actually think that having a trans kid brings them some kind of social capital. They think it's desirable. I remember hearing of someone saying to me, a friend of theirs saying, oh, well, you know, when our little boy was looking at toys in the Argos catalogue, and, you know, we said, and he was looking at all the Action Men, we said, turn the page, said, what about these Barbies? Do you not want these Barbies? He's a boy, he wanted the Action Man. What are you doing? The problem is there are some parents now who will actually say to the teacher, oh, I want my kid to be brought up gender neutral. Oh, that's fine if, you know, Oliver wants to wear a dress and now be called Olivia. That's perfectly okay. Once upon a time, if you were at school and a little boy was being dressed in girls' clothes and was being sent to school telling everyone he was a girl, you would call social services. You'd say that's not okay. Whereas now, this isn't progression, this is perversion. It's just crazy. And you know what? Without, you know, wandering into territory that's rather sensitive, there does seem to be, because also these people, when they are being convinced that they're in the wrong body and in the wrong gender, they go online and they're looking at all of this sort of horrific material, which is largely telling them you can do this, you need top surgery, you need a breast binder, you know, all of these things. And then they might be put on a medical pathway, they might be taking puberty blockers, Lord knows what those drugs do to someone's mental health. But they are also being bombarded with this narrative that trans lives matter, that trans people are persecuted, that the right wing are dangerous and trans people's lives are at risk. And so people who already have a mental health problem, because dystopia is a mental health problem, okay? It's not the norm to think you're in the wrong body. They may already have some mental health issues, and they are being accelerated towards having even bigger mental health issues. And at some point, we are going to have to sensitively have the conversation that we have now seen incidences of transgender people, young transgender people, shooting people, losing it and going out shooting people. Because, you know, we saw that with Charlie Kirk. We've just seen this in Canada. And I think we saw it in another circumstance as well. So we do need to be asking the question, what's going on here? Right, we've got